Lou Reed could turn something as simple as a shrug into a weapon. Small talk wasn't his thing. Deference wasn't his thing either. What he excelled at was disdain, calibrated with precision and fired like a sniper's bullet. And when the topic turned to fellow rock stars, anyone still gazing through rose-tinted glasses was in for a rude awakening. Reed would metaphorically yank those glasses off, smash them under his boot, and return them in a paper bag labeled reality. So in 1987, when Reed sat down for an interview and began verbally dismantling untouchable icons like the Beatles and the Doors, no one who knew him should have been surprised. He wasn't there to be diplomatic or to nostalgically pat the past on the back. He was there to preach the Velvet Underground's gospel, a creed that, in his mind, wasn't just about changing music, but about creating the only form of it that truly mattered. By that point, Reed was already half myth, and every time he spoke, it was as if he were constructing a cathedral with himself at the altar. He explained that the Velvets had aimed to elevate rock and roll to a place it had never been before, something, he implied, that the Beatles had never even attempted. When he moved on to Jim Morrison and the Doors, Reed drew a sharp dividing line between what he considered genuine art and what he dismissed as theatrical posturing. In his view, the Velvet Underground dealt in raw street life: junkies, hustlers, feedback, drone, and brutal honesty, while the Doors amounted to leather pants and overwrought poetry, overblown, oversexed, and overdressed. He described them as painfully stupid and pretentious, likening it to a diagnosis. In one particularly cutting remark, Reed said that compared to the Velvet Underground's level, the rest of the scene didn't measure up, not even to his ankles. He thought the Doors' attempts at artiness made for something even worse than bad rock and roll. When he used the word stupid, he clarified, he was talking about bands like the Doors. Reed's contempt for Morrison seemed less about the music itself and more about the mythology surrounding him. He despised rock stars pretending to be mystics, and grand theatrics passed off as deep insight made his skin crawl. When Morrison delivered cryptic lines about snakes, fire, and ancient souls, Reed didn't hear profundity. He heard a college frat boy with a library card and too much incense. And for someone like Reed, nothing was more offensive than a performer faking the darkness he had actually lived. The Doors were undoubtedly a great band, but anyone who had shared a dorm room with a Doors-obsessed roommate would probably understand Reed's frustration. Then came the Beatles. Reed didn't merely dislike them, he brushed them aside entirely, describing their work as nothing more than garbage and claiming he liked nobody in that camp. To Reed, it wasn't just that the Beatles made pop songs. They embodied a world of optimism, sing-along choruses, and playful British charm, none of which appealed to him. He wasn't interested in holding hands or riding yellow submarines. He craved distortion, nihilism, and the grimy truths of the city at 3 a.m. When he looked at John Lennon and Paul McCartney, he saw polished craftsmen. When he looked at himself, he saw a prophet with a guitar. Of course, Reed was capable of admiration. He respected Bob Dylan and held Ornette Coleman in high regard. But that wasn't the Lou Reed on display in this interview. Here, he wasn't the reflective elder statesman or the reformed junkie. He was still the midnight figure in sunglasses, etching his name into rock history with a knife. You didn't have to agree with him, but you wouldn't forget him. On other days, Reed might have shown more generosity toward the creativity of others. This just wasn't one of those days.